Good morning, Lexie.
Good morning, Tim. How are you?
I'm very well, thank you. I'm very well. And for those of you tuning in, I'm in my office in the woods, and I have my good friend Lexie Wrightson here. And you run a company called Morgana Sophia Astrology, don't you, or Astrologer?
Astrologer. Yes. Yes.
Astrologer.
Astrologer. Yeah. So
Nice.
I am a priestess astrologer. I've trained in Avalon, in Glastonbury, in the UK. So we bring through astrology, but with a slightly twist that we bring it back to the original goddess astrologers who kind of created the silver wheel of the year. So we're bringing back that divine feminine, the Sophia, that's coming through into astrology.
Beautiful. And it's never been more necessary than it is at the moment. And I got a message from you the other night that really got my attention, Lexie, and it's about because no matter how hard I try and focus on the personal journey, I am also aware with a lot of excitement slash anticipation about this Pluto position. And I know we spoke about it earlier in the year. It's not so much about the individual journey, this Pluto setting, it's the collective journey. And you sent me this message the other night saying, look, the Pluto is going to be doing some funky stuff at the end of this week. I believe today's the day, isn't it?
Today.
Yeah, today's the day. And we all need to have the discussion about what this is going to create in our field of reality. So Cod, tell everybody what you said.
I get really excited. So I'm a triple placement in Scorpio. So this stuff really gets my juices flowing. So
Yeah.
Plutonia, or Pluto, as you know, in normal astrology, is what we'd call the dark goddess of transformation. So she's been moving through Capricorn for quite a long time. We've had a couple of chunks where she's moved into Aquarius. And for the past 4 or 5 weeks, she's been in retrograde in Capricorn. She's now today gone direct. So she's moving back out of Capricorn on her final trajectory into the age of Aquarius. So when a planet goes retrograde on a whole, it's very much about reviewing where we've been, what's happened, what's the transformation that's taken place, but also showing us what else needs to transform. And as she goes direct this time, this is our opportunity to make those final adjustments, shall we say, those final deep dive into the murk and the ick that might have come up to allow us to really move into when it's going to be a really different energy when Pluto goes into Aquarius. So in the collective, we're seeing this a lot at the moment, a lot of shadow work coming up, a lot of the sludge and the slurry, you know, the skeletons coming out of the closet. You know, I often get this picture of like disembodied hands hanging onto the cliff face of, you know, you're trying to prise them off, but they're still there.
Yeah.
So she's really bringing us this opportunity between now, which is the 11th, and when she goes into Aquarius, which she moves out the 19th, 20th, depending on where you are in the world. She's giving us this final throw of the dice to really work on our personal shadow, but also on the collective shadow as well. So it's a really potent and powerful time if, careful what I say, you have the minerals to step forward and go into the shadow and go in without fear. Go in with a sense of, do you know what? I've done this before. Let's do it again. Because this time I'm going to come out as a different person. It's the eternal onion. I know we've talked about this so many times before, you know, peeling away yet another layer of the eternal onion. So it's going to be a really potent and powerful 4 weeks if you choose it to be. So don't forget, astrology is the golden seed point. The bits we colour in between is our choice, essentially.
Beautifully explained, thank you. And this really resonates with, I mean, the past 2 Friday updates that I've done. One of them, I think a couple of weeks ago, was called The Last Hurrah, or Custer's Last Stand, and again focused on this period of time because I just, me with my limited astrology and understanding of it, I know what we are aiming for on the Ascension Pathway. I'm also aware of some of the kind of the primary ingredients from the cosmos that are creating this particular ascension stew. And Pluto moving out of Capricorn on the 19th or the 20th of November is a vast movement. It's the end of the generation of the third dimension. Now, this correlates with all of this other information that's been coming in, not just to me, but to other people that we both mutually know in the field, that said by the time that we move into the December solstice, the powers that be, who are working, you know, hand in hand with us, are looking to have achieved what we would regard as the golden ratio, which is a 50-50 split on this planet of people who have got the minerals to be anchoring their I am presence and to have actually stepped up. And so when you get a golden and the other half still kind of working, you know, what on perhaps what we were 5 or 10 years ago, they will get there in the end if they've chosen to step onto the ascension pathway, but they've still got work to do. And with this golden ratio, it doesn't necessarily mean that this 50% will be as we are, who are, you know, like we're awake, we're alive and kicking, you know, in inverted commas. But we've got a target. We know where we're going. We know what's happening in the world. But this transition, it's paramount, because when Capricorn is kind of it becomes a thing of the past, this Pluto and Capricorn, we move into the Aquarius setting, that's all of our eggs in one basket, so to speak, isn't it?
Yeah, and I think the Pluto in Capricorn has been a really interesting transition for most of us. You know, think about the majority. This started in 2008, so the majority of us between that period have really woken up and really put our energy into the collapse of the 3D in however we've done that, whether we've done that in a kind of negative way, but also done it in an incredibly positive way. But as you kind of got these last vestiges of Pluto in Capricorn, we're also going to be in Scorpio season as well. So that is the traditional. Scorpio is, you know, she's the goddess of alchemy, the goddess of transformation. And, you know, Pluto moves through this final sign. She's the goddess of transformation. She's the goddess of occult mysteries. So not dark occult, but the occult in which we have the mysteries of sex, death, and rebirth, essentially. So we've got this really potent time to add the final bit of pepper, so we say, to the ascension stew, so we can actually create this golden ratio. And collectively, we're going to see a lot of shadow appear. Personally, we're going to see a huge amount of shadow appear as well. And it's how do we balance doing that deep inner work, because it is going to be deep, but not projecting that into the field, essentially. So it's going to be a lot of internal work, a lot of shadow that we've missed, that we may have papered over the cracks because we don't really want to look at that aspect of ourselves. But take this as a real positive aspect of shadow work. Can you truly get to love the parts of yourself that we don't like? And my God, I've got some parts I really don't like, but I've got to learn to love them. You've got to wake up every morning, like Louise said, you've got to look in the mirror and go, I love you. And we're not loving the light, fluffy parts of ourselves. It's the whole of ourselves, everything that we encompass, you know, the divine and goddess herself, you know, she's both light and shadow. So can you spend these 4 weeks integrating the light and the shadow of just being this essence of you, but holding that vision that by you doing the work, you are projecting into the field your work, your alchemy, which in turn is alchemizing the 3D. We're not projecting out the fear, we're projecting out the energy of alchemy, essentially, as we do our inner work. So I think it's going to be a really potent time, and it's going to be a lot of learning to love yourself. Every single aspect of self, no matter how nitty, no matter how gritty, you know, you've got to look that challenge in the eye, give her a wink and say, do you know what? Yes, I see you, I feel you, and do you know what? I love you. That's going to be the challenge over the next 4 weeks.
That's it says everything about where we are on this ascension pathway. I mean, it's so easy, as you know, to kind of like even be drawn to the spiritual pathway almost as a soft option. This always makes me kind of like snigger into my tea or my coffee, like, oh, are you here for the angels, are you, kind of thing, you know, like divert. Yeah, I was like, well, welcome to the club now. Things are starting fast nowadays. It's over the last decade or two, I've seen people literally be drawn to the Ascension Pathway because of that feel good factor. And what we're trying to do at the moment is feel good in the middle of in the middle of a tar pit, and to say the least, you know. And instead of struggling in that tar pit like we're like a trapped prehistoric animal kind of getting slurped down, it's like, if I stay still, then then the solution will present itself to me. Now, I loved what you said about loving yourself and then projecting that image into the field as almost as a finished result. This is the results of the work that I've done. Because I have heard and I'm always beating the drum about this, Lexie, as you probably know, the ability to remain positive under extreme pressure. Because with this last 4 weeks, we are going to see every single effort made by the 3D matrix to capture our attention, to make us think that the world is just a doom fest, basically, and to have that conversation with other people about how awful it is, and then put that reality as kind of like a stack into the field. And I believe, and it's been critical for years now, to avoid doing that, being the deliverer of that message of anti-hope to others. And yeah, okay, it's going to look like it's going even more bonkers than it was previously. Look at what's been going on in the southern in Florida. We've got all of and everything politically is just getting so obviously. It's just a carnival. It's just a carnival of very, very obvious actions with the express intention of waking everybody up. But I noticed also, all of a sudden, all eyes were on this situation in Florida. Guess what happens? And everything's kind of what could have been absolutely terrible has been reduced. That's an example of focused intention. When we put our minds together to achieve a result, it happens very quickly, especially when we're holding this mighty I am presence, this aspect of ourselves. So it's important to retain that energy, I believe.
Yeah, absolutely. And even that we can be going through our own personal, storm of the brown stuff. Actually, what is the goal? What is the focus that we all want to achieve? And as we go into the age of Aquarius as well, Aquarius is going to be about being the individual, yet as part of the collective. So what is the collective vision? What is it that you want to hold? But how can you also be an individual within that and go through your own initiations, your own trials and tribulations? But essentially, all of us want to be looking forward now. No more looking back. And a message I got through the other day is stop looking back. Stop looking back to what has been. Look forward and actually every day create what you want to step into. It's that powerful I am. The second we say I am something or other, that comes into our field and we become that. You've got to be so careful how you label yourself, what things that you give yourself. And I think the label that I don't really like labels, but the thing we've got to remember is that I am the love, I am the light, I am the truth. And that is what you have to be repeating to yourself all the time. Even when you're doing the shadow work, you are doing that as part of the divine, transmuting personally to alchemize the whole, essentially. So it's going to be a really curious few weeks. And if and when this stuff all blows up, look at it as from curiosity and with humor as well. Oh my God, what's happening? Okay, I see you, I recognize you. Oh, we've been here before. We've had this little shadow dance before. Make it fun for yourself as well. Laugh at yourself when, you look in the mirror and go, oh my God, those wrinkles. Okay, laugh at yourself, because actually it's just an aspect that this spacesuit isn't really us, is it? You know,
No.
we are this huge vibrating pillar of light. So it's a real paradox as well, isn't it? Because we want to do the deep shadow work. We will be in a state of not depression, that's the wrong word, in a state where we're very internalized and feeling quite fearful because we're seeing our own shadow. But if we can really think and hold that vision of where we're going and actually detach from a lot of what's going on in the 3D matrix, you know, turn the TV off, stop reading, you know, the newspapers online, and just project out the highest timeline, particularly if you find that you get wrapped up in some of the distractions that are going to come along, because don't forget we've got big elections going around in places as well. So actually, can you just hold the highest outcome for all? That's part of your daily practice, remembering that you're love, you're light, you know, you're the truth, that you are the divine embodied, and then hold that space for yourself and for other people to do their shadow work as well. And if you know other people are doing shadow work around you, support them, you know, project that bubble of light so that they can do that work within a safe, contained space. So it's about us supporting each other, but realizing some individuals are going to go through the brown stuff, and whoever they are in the world, we're just throwing that light out. So you're right, the hurricane was a great way of you know, collective power of thought, what that can do. So it's going to be a really, it's like it is a paradox, isn't it? You know, you're doing the deep inner stuff, but we've got to be holding that energy. So, and we're all going to be experiencing differently. So if you think you've done all your shadow work, you haven't, but that's fine. You know, you hold that thought, but every day when you're doing your morning practices, I do my morning practice, you know, send that light out, that energy into the world, and then go in and do what you need to do. So I think it's going to be, powerful thought.
Perfect advice. Perfect advice. I mean, it's about a month ago that I got the real, like, I mean, this is advice for everybody, and you've highlighted that perfectly there, Lexie. Start your day with a morning ritual. Set your intention, okay, before all of the distractions come in, because we do live in a very distracting world. Start with affirmations, ground yourself in, get yourself out in nature if you need to. I've been lighting frankincense every morning and spending 5 minutes bringing in the flame of adoration, because that's what I need. I need, as part of this shadow work that I've been doing, to pour adoration into everything in my field, whether it's challenging me or whether I love it and I'm wanting it to grow. As soon as you add this focus, this energy, this intention to it, it immediately becomes part of your reality and part of your field, and you have an immediate advantage over whatever else is being presented to you. So it's until we are moving through, I think by the time that we get to the December solstice, we're going to be very aware of how we've managed to move through this particular challenge, because it's a collective initiation and we're all being pressure tested. I like that. I like this word came through to me, pressure testing. You get it on oil rigs. You test a borehole to see whether it's able to hold the pressure of the oil coming up without blowing everything completely to pieces. It's exactly the same with us, holding this frequency and being in this reality and having the capacity to change everything to the vibration with which we are focused on. So it's, again, this is going to be an ideal opportunity to really see where we sit and stand with this entire procedure. And I've got this almost like this vision of a light switch going on the 19th of November and the old one going off again. And it's similar in construction to the day of the cosmic moment. So don't expect instant results on that day, but just know that that is the new platform of energy. I think that's very important.
Yeah, and there's always a switch over, isn't it? You know, whenever we see a planet go direct, particularly these outer planets, you know, these are big, heavy goddesses. They are not gonna, you know, turbocharge themselves into a new energy. It's a rolling process. So, you know, change on a galactic level for us is immensely fast, but on a human level, we're feeling it's very slow and very grindy still at the moment. So,
Yeah.
Wake up on the 20th, go, okay, I'm really aware there's going to be a shift in energy, but I'm still aware that the residual energy will be clearing. And, between now and December solstice, really ground in your own personal practices, ground in your 10 minutes in the morning or whatever you do, your morning pages, your journaling, whatever works for you, ground in that practice.
Yeah.
And then, kind of withdraw a little bit as well. Listen to what needs to be listened to, but actually start listening to what spirit, God, goddess, whatever you believe in, is saying to you, because it's the switch I'm seeing as well to this walking ascended master. The more that we listen and go within at the moment, the more we're actually going to walk out into this really confident I am presence. So yeah, the switch will be flicked, but there'll be some residue to clean up, as always.
Yeah, absolutely. I can remember looking forward to the cosmic moment, thinking that, in my naivety, that it'd be like all of a sudden, like, 22nd of December, it's going to be open the door. It's like, oh, it's the fifth dimension. How nice. Like, without even wanting to kind of quantify the amount of work that we'd have to do in the interim. So this will be a continuation of the work we're doing, but just the platform of energy will be very much more supportive for what we need to be doing. And by the time we get to the December solstice, we're looking at we're looking to have achieved the golden ratio. So I've always understood and learn along the way that when we are going for a situation where we're looking for a mass wake up, the conditions have to be such. So this is perfect, isn't it? Basically, it's like you couldn't get a more perfect mixture to bring people into that state of self-awareness, especially the shadow dodgers. You know what I mean? Like the ones that really don't like doing the work.
There's no dodging in this. Whenever I've been shown now, there is literally no dodging. It will find you. If you haven't done it, it's going to find you. So surrender to it.
Yeah, there's no cave deep enough, or underground bunker or whatever you want to kind of like go and hide yourself in. You'll notice that there's been a lot of kind of very subtle preparations in what we would regard as the 3D matrix for things that are coming up at the moment, and of course there are huge physical shifts occurring on the planet, but it's our job to anchor in the light and make sure that they do go in the direction that they're intended and they don't exceed their creative potential, which is something which can always happen because this is a realm of free will and people are all doing all of these different things everywhere. Now we are a collective that is focused on a unified prize at the end of the kind of the running race, so to speak. We really do have something to work with, and I think that's very important.
Absolutely, yeah, and just keep holding that vision, no matter how bad it's going to get. Don't forget, one, to reach out to other people, but two, just remember that you are doing, as an aspect of the divine on earth, a hugely powerful role. So don't ever demean the role that you're playing, because actually sometimes that small, even if you think you've got a small role, that's probably the most important role.
Yeah, so. Absolutely. That's really important. A lot of people ask themselves, well, what contribution am I making? And it's massive. You're here on this planet holding that frequency. You have no idea how critical that is. And especially if you're holding it with a consciousness or an awareness of what you're doing here. We're all as equally responsible for this field as one another. So let's get to work. Let's get the shadow stuff done, Lexie. I'm glad you told me about it.
Get the shadow party started.
Yeah, it most certainly has. Well, it's been an absolute pleasure having you on this morning. Thank you so much. Have you got any other kind of little tips or anything for what's coming up?
I just surrender into it. Make sure you've got a really good support work. Reach out to people who understand that what's going on from shadow work. And if you are prepared to dive deep, you know, Pluto always favours the brave. She really, really does. And there are loads of resources out there, and there's so many light workers wanting to help you as well, particularly. So, you know, if someone reaches out to you, hold the space for them. And, you know, let's cross refer to each other and really hold that energy so that we can go through it. But yeah, it's going to be, just enjoy it. And it's a really difficult thing to say, but surrender and know that the role that you play is huge.
Thank you.
Thank
Perfect.
you, Tim.
Bless your heart. So everybody, that's it from us this morning, and I'll put Lexie's contact details and more details of her work underneath this video so that you can get in touch with her and follow up on this conversation. And have a beautiful weekend, and I will see you all again soon. Thank you, Lexie.
Thank you. Much love.
Lots of love. Bye.